So if we're looking under the car, the first things we're gonna have to do, remove the exhaust, drain the oil out. From the inside of the car, you're gonna remove the shifter off of here. You're gonna remove the shift lever bracket off of here. So that needs to come off so you can pull the shifter out. So that's one of the first things I always do. And then once we get to the point of removing the actual transmission, we're gonna remove the torque converter from back in here. And the other thing that's a little bit different on this car than a stock car is he has an aftermarket trans cooler, which is located up under here on the passenger side. So he has some lines here, which will be easy. So we'll just remove the cooler and the lines and everything is one package. If this was a factory radiator car, factory lines, it would have ports here on the radiator itself. And what you do with that is you just take a piece of line and loop it, or you can plug the two holes, either of those two options. So that will be a little bit different on this car than a completely 100% factory automatic car. One of the things you're gonna wanna do before you lean this motor back is to make sure you have all the couplers loose, like on the intercooler piping, so that it won't bind up or break. Loosen the radiator, take off the positive terminal of the battery, throttle body coupler, and anything else that you see that may interfere when you go to lean that motor backwards. So just use your discretion, take a look around, make sure you have everything loosened up and free, that you're not gonna hit anything. To remove the torque converter, you need a breaker bar with a 22mm socket. Only turn the motor clockwise, all right? And then also, to get the torque converter bolts out, they're 17mm, and I use a 1/2" wrench because it has just the right distance to get back in there. If you use a long, like a deep well socket, you're not gonna be able to get your ratchet in there. All 6 torque converter bolts are out. So now we're gonna drain the fluid out of here and get the trans bolts out and actually start dropping the trans down. Okay, so the trans is ready to come out. I removed all the bolts from the block. Don't forget about the 2 that come in from the front side. And then there is 3 connectors on the passenger side, or on the right-hand side. 1 here, 1 under here, and 1 in the back. And then on the driver's side, 1 in the back, and 1 in the front. So remove, oh, and a big one right here too. So remove all those, make sure you have all your wiring free. Don't forget about the dipstick. There's a bolt that's in the intake manifold on that side too. So now that we have all that out, this should be ready to drop down out. Okay, you can see I have the transmission cooler lines removed. This guy had an aftermarket cooler, so I just had it blocked off for now. There's the factory lines that run back through here, and there is a bracket that holds them onto the block. So if you have that bracket attached, you need to remove it. So then after that, you'll just basically pull the trans out as one solid unit with these lines attached. So at this point, you should see something like this, and you should look something like this. And if we go up under the car, you can see no trans. Next, we got to remove the flex plate, and we'll do the modifying the wiring, but that's in a second stage. So now we have the automatic out. I got to remove this trans cooler, and then we'll move on to starting the actual manual conversion process. After removing the 8 flex plate bolts, you're also going to remove this spacer that sits behind the flex plate. Your flywheel is going to bolt directly to the crank. The last step of the auto removal process is to actually remove the shifter itself and the console. So we just pull the ashtray out, throw that over there, and then this console itself just pops out with clips. So you just pop it out, and you have to be careful, you don't want to break it. But pop this out, pull the e-brake up, and this slips up over the shifter. And then there's a connector for the ashtray light. So just disconnect that. Now you can see I have the entire center console removed, and we can see the 4 bolts that actually hold the shifter in place. So we're going to remove these 4 10mm headed bolts. There's 2 up front and 2 in the back. So we're going to remove those, and then we have to pop up all the wiring clips. And some of them are kind of hard to get to, and they're kind of tight, so you have to be careful with them. Try not to break them. So we're going to remove all those clips holding the wiring, pull the shifter out, and then we are done with the automatic removal process. So there you have it. We have the auto shifter completely removed, the automatic transmission out. So basically this is the end of the part 1 video, which is going to be just the removal process of the automatic transmission. So in the next video, we're going to start into actually doing the GR700 manual transmission conversion.